Azer's discussion video was truly a topic to talk about back in 2015 when it was released, with him bringing up really good points and his video creating one of the most serious discussion threads I've ever seen on Osu subreddit. I definitely recommend you read the comments in that thread, and just read the whole thread if you have the time to do so. But the focus of the video today will be about if his opinions and thoughts were correct, and though his points still hold up in 2019, 4 years after he made that video. I will be tackling each of his points individually, analyzing them and giving my opinions on it, as well as looking at if they are correct in 2019. Also, before I get into these points, I just wanna say that these are his opinions and that he's not stating facts. I am only comparing his opinions versus how the game is today, and he shouldn't be harassed for his opinions, no matter how flawed you might think they are.
We live in an era of players who just want to go fast. Everything must be AR-10 or they just can't play it. We also have players looking up to those people and telling themselves they must play AR-10 too when it's far too soon in their learning curve to be able to play it. What results of those players is people playing whack-a-mole. They throw all sense of rhythm out of the window and just react to fast objects on the screen instead of playing a rhythm game. You can throw those players an AR-9 map and they won't know how to play it because they can't read it.
It's no secret that if you want to impress new players, the easiest way to do so is with a really fast aim-intensive map, so of course people would strive to become as good as one of the top jump players today. You can never assume anything about the entire new player base, but new players come to play a written game and they don't even get to experience the written part of Osu, with the current meta having oversimplified written choices in maps all the way from easies and normals, where such thing would be justified, all the way up to the highest levels of play, where it's done to make the maps as simple and farmable as possible. Currently, the most top plays are made on those maps, so it gives new players the impression that in order to be considered good, they have to know how to play those maps, especially with how the current mapping meta is, and the high ARs on anything above 5 stars. A lot of newer jump maps that are above the insane difficulty are higher than AR9, so if they were to play an AR9 map, they would think it's slow and unreadable and avoid playing AR9 in the future.
Players are getting better, and so maps are getting harder and harder to fit their demands, and we will probably reach a point where AR-10 is the norm, and the players we will consider to be gods are the ones who are now playing whack-a-mole today. Who knows?
This part is going to slightly relate to a topic that I've covered before, and that is the change of the AR standards over the history of Osu, and how after decimals in AR were introduced in 2014, the standard AR has been getting higher and higher. Players want to react more than they want to read, so if you were to look at the past and look at pure data, I guess you could say that the standard AR is eventually going to be 10. But if you look at the game at an angle that's not purely statistical, you can see that there is only a really small amount of maps that have AR-10 set as the AR, and it's usually on the hardest maps in the game, at least hardest star rating wise, and it varies between 9.8 and 10 mostly. So even saying that all maps above 6 stars are going to be AR-10 in the future sounds really dystopian and unlikely, and I personally hope we don't get to see that. Even today, if you were to try and put AR-10 on a map without some justifications, your map wouldn't be ranked.
Another kind of player in this era is the player who came after the introduction of Tom's PP system and only care about growing that number on their profile. These are the players who spend 100% of their playtime talking to Tillery and just trying to find the next overweighted map they can set a score on. Generally, these players only end up playing DT or no mod at all.
Well, unfortunately, I'd have to agree with this point. Not that I'm saying that all players are like that, but there's a big number of new players that only care about getting PP and farming as fast as possible to climb the ladder, and it's disappointing. Osu has so much more to offer than just playing farm maps. There are amazing maps that are really fun to play that don't give a lot of PP, beautiful visuals and storyboards that people put their heart and soul into that never even get looked at because people just turn the storyboard off and forget about it existing. If you want to farm, that's fine, but at least spare a moment to look at the beautiful maps and storyboards that people have put so much time and effort into, and do yourself a favor by experiencing them at least once. I promise you won't regret it.
A few years back, when we were under the old PP system, PP was all about your ranking on the map, which meant that playing Hidden was really rewarding. If you learned to play it, you would get a ton of bonus points just for playing the exact same map. Unfortunately, in the new system, Hidden is only a small percentage bonus, and it has a little to no incentive for a player that's looking to gain PP. We've seen more and more tournaments this year, and as someone who's been involved in most of them as a player or as a staff member, I've seen some really good players I never heard of a year ago, and they're not able to play Hidden on its own. These are 3-digit players who can shit out 300 PP plays left and right, but they can't FC anything with Hidden on its own.
Nowadays, Hidden doesn't have as big of an influence as before on the PP system, simply because in PvP1, your rank was based off your total score, and Hidden was the farm mod of that time. Today you can only gain small amounts of PP from playing a map with Hidden, because it's essentially a preference mode based on what you like playing the most. You like seeing up road circles? Play normal or hard rock. You like the aesthetic that Hidden gives? Then play with Hidden. I'd say that most of the top players can read Hidden nowadays, and that it's not as big of a difficulty changing mod as Azer suggests. And yes, I am aware of some maps that are truly harder with Hidden, but the mapping meta of today doesn't challenge anything when playing with Hidden, and most people even play day team maps with Hidden, as it's easier to read with less notes on the screen. But hey, things were probably different in 2015. Thank you for watching. If you liked what you saw, be sure to like and subscribe, as I have more cool stuff like this on the way, and hopefully we see each other again.